For this week's lesson, we'll be focusing on dropping judgment and being enough. This idea of being enough is probably one of the scariest concepts that I've ever tried on in my body as someone who has just judged myself throughout my whole life. I found it pretty incredulous that I could just be enough at my core. I could rest in that. I could enjoy that. And no, that doesn't mean that I have a perfect life or I'm a perfect person, but it means that at my essence, I am enough, more than enough. And in fact, radiant joy. No, that doesn't mean that I'm still not human. It means that I still have foibles, but it means that this incredible light and love is still enough. And when I choose to judge myself or judge others, it blocks out that deeper knowing, that deeper sense that helps me actually, ironically, want to move forward and want to be a person who is conscious of my behavior and caring and loving. And yet self-judgment is just like a cruel knife that just keeps cutting into ourselves. I have this sticky note as kind of a reminder of my thoughts during the day. If you imagined like a comic strip and all these little thought bubbles were around your head, would we like what we see? I have to be honest, I know that I'd see some things that I don't want to see written on these thought bubbles. And so today's practice is about softening the armor of our hearts that keeps judgment going. Because judgment actually is there for a protective purpose for many of us. And I'll just give an example. This week I noticed myself judging myself a lot about a decision of how much to do for a relative who's in a dying process. And I have all these expectations of what I want to be able to do, what I feel like I should do. And I just noticed all this judgment coming in, and it didn't feel good. And then I decided to do this practice of letting go of judgment and just really accepting myself. And the question, that I asked is, what is judgment blocking that I am afraid to see? And it was really just a vulnerability and a sadness that I love this relative. I don't want them to die. And the judgment was a way of just not facing life, not facing the vulnerability of being a human. And so what I needed instead of judgment was just holding, was a sense of love and compassion. And so I began giving that to myself, and it really changed everything. How many times a day do I or do we beat ourselves up for not being enough? There's so many things in our world right now to feel like I could be doing, I should be doing to help, and I want to do as many of them as I can. And if I'm putting hatred, self-hatred again and again on myself or casting it on others, then I'm just adding to more of the pain that the world is carrying right now. And so I'd invite us into this practice of just loosening our body armor a little bit around the judgment that we carry. So we're going to start with just some shoulder shrugs. So maybe making tense shoulders and then letting out a big doing that a few times. Letting the weight of the world fall off our shoulders for just this moment. And then bringing our hands to our heart. And just maybe silently with our eyes opened or closed, repeating to ourselves, what is difficult for me to face in this situation? How can I hold it with care? Maybe taking another breath and a sigh. And here's another way to approach that. This is a healing hug. You place one hand under your armpit, the other hand on the side of your ear, behind your ear. And we'll just take 3 breaths here. This is a nervous system calming technique. And when our judgment is activated, often our nervous systems get stuck in freeze, shut down in shame, or really activated. And so this can help us just to soften and open to love. Maybe again repeating to ourselves, what's difficult in this situation? What needs loving care? And finally, one of my favorite self-soothing techniques is just cupping our hands on our face or over our heart, maybe in a squeeze of a hug, and just saying what needs nurturing in this moment. Taking a few breaths. And coming back to ourselves. So perhaps instead of filling all our thought bubbles with negative thoughts, maybe asking ourselves instead, what needs care in this moment? I hope you'll enjoy this practice, and if you'd like more of this, there's a month-long challenge we're doing that's leading up to the Being Enough Dropping Self-Judgment Retreat on April 18th at Indigo in Ann Arbor. You're welcome to join us. Thanks for tuning in.